Ohio State 2-game losing streak to the Michigan Wolverines. All that dominance for all that time. Ryan Day, pair of losses to Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh, all that losing to Ohio State during his time as head coach of the Wolverines, now with a little bit of a leg up on his rival coach from Columbus. The game is in Ann Arbor. There's a lot of stuff packed into this. Oh, and Jim Harbaugh won't even get credit for it. Sharon Moore, good luck. Good chance for you to continue to build your win-loss record as the Michigan head coach. Danny, where do you want to start here? Which part of this matchup do you think is bouncing around your head the most when trying to figure out how it's going to go?
Let's start with the quarterbacks. I mean, it's the obvious one. Being a former quarterback, I do think this one has, some really interesting intrigue to those two players because of kind of where they stand now, like as we speak. I mean, I just gave the other day, Day Trade and Danny was ready to sell J.J. McCarthy as a, national championship winning quarterback. Can he win this game? I absolutely think he can. I don't think he has to throw for 300, but can he hit those one or two key plays, which he's done in the past in this game, that are going to be afforded to him? And are they going to be able to step up and do it? So he kind of comes limping into this game, confidence-wise, not his best performance, didn't have to do anything against Penn State. And then Kyle McCord, all of a sudden in two blowouts, which J.J. McCarthy had early in the season. Remember, J.J. McCarthy looked like a Heisman Trophy winner when he was playing against Minnesota and Michigan State too. And so he comes in, McCord does, with a lot more confidence. So, I'm very curious to see, which one of these ones are more comfortable in this game, which one can hit the big plays, which one doesn't make the big mistake. And I would almost say, even though, that dynamic of where they're coming into this game, I still trust J.J. McCarthy because I think he'll have a stronger run game. They've been able to control the line of scrimmage. But, man, Kyle McCord's got Marvin Harrison Jr. He's got the greatest equalizer in the sport where you can almost screw up and throw it into the wrong coverage, double coverage, and he's going to make a play. Or they could have a play drawn up hey, you've got safety help over the top, but he just kind of splits them and you're able to just throw it past everybody and he goes and gets it. That's the type of dynamic that comes into play. So quarterbacks, clearly huge impact. I think the other big storyline is just physicality. How does Ohio State stack up? They've been challenged. You heard the frustration in Ryan Day's voice after they beat Notre Dame. No one, Coach Holt said, we can't do this. We proved to the world we can stack up. Well, how do they handle the physicality? Because I wouldn't be surprised if there is a stretch where Sharon Moore, I don't think it's 30, but I think you can see 8 or 9 runs in a row. Until they stop you, go ahead. We're that is the mindset that I think Michigan holds, and it's an advantage they hold over Ohio State. We dominate you guys. We own you physically. You're going to have to stop us.
Yeah, I mean, look, this line is getting to 3 now, which basically implies they're a coin flip on a neutral field. Is that a market upgrade of Ohio State, or is it a market downgrade of Michigan? I think it's clearly the latter.
Oh.
I mean, maybe we can argue Ohio State's been better in recent weeks. Henderson being healthier helps. McCord's just not a good quarterback. But Day, I think, is an elite play caller. And really, and they do have special weapons at receiver. Obviously, Harrison, Egbuka, Henderson, big time. But there are some concerns I have with Ohio State's offense here. They have only played, 3 D lines that are have real pros on them in numbers. Notre Dame, which whipped them. Penn State, which Penn State's D line was much better than Ohio State's offensive line. They just threw it up to Harrison 18 times and he caught 12 of them.
Yeah. And
Wisconsin gave him some trouble as well. All through the preseason, we were concerned about this Ohio State offensive line. They had to go to the portal, to try to get multiple starters. It was not a good portal year for offensive linemen. So how will Ohio State's offensive line hold up against this Michigan defensive front, which I do think is really good? If this plays out like the last 3 times this offensive line has had to face defensive lines with real pros, then Ohio State's going to have problems. Michigan's secondary, I don't think, is quite as good as maybe it looked earlier in the season. And if Ohio State's offensive line can give them some time, I do have a lot of trust in Ryan Day to scheme stuff up, even though I don't think McCord is very good. Like I think Day is an underappreciated play caller. So can they find ways to get their playmakers the ball and minimize the pass rush for Michigan? Because Michigan has real dudes up front. And there's sort of like a breaking point where it's like, okay, we can operate against this, this, and this, but when we play a really elite level of defensive line, can we block it? I don't know. Like, honestly, I would give Ohio State's offensive line a rather failing grade with the 3 good defensive lines they faced so far this year. On the flip side, man, Michigan ain't blocked anybody the last 2 weeks. So at least not in the pass pro.
Pass blocked. Yeah.
What's the status of their offensive linemen? Have you got any update on them? Because they lost 2 of them, right, against Maryland?
I thought the right tackle's going to play. From what, and I know that Sharon Moore said that Wilson, the receiver, is likely to play. So I don't have much of a track record on him. Like, there's some coaches I know just lie like crazy, right? Mm-hmm. And there's some coaches who I generally trust when I watch their pressers. I don't really have a track record on Sharon Moore if he's honest about injuries and pressers or not. So I guess we'll see there. I mean, Ohio State's got a good defense, guys.
Yeah, see, to me, that's where I think that you're looking at a situation where if both defensive lines have an advantage against both offensive lines, then we start to move to, okay, if it's going to be lower scoring, if it's going to be really like tough, who's hitting the explosive plays? Buckeyes have the hammer. Like they might only need, they don't need 12 catches for 168 yards, but they might need like 6 or 7 big ones. And if they can get that, if they can get them in the right moments, then I'm not surprised to see this. What was it? Started at 4 and now it's moving the other way. Of course, I'm sure that Sharps are going to probably wait for it to get as low as possible and then hammer Michigan on game day all the way out to 5. I mean, what's your expectation? This is going to get traded all around, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go back to 5. But it probably 3.5. It'll trade. It won't go under 3 unless some injury information leaks or something. Is McCarthy healthy?
No,
he looks dinged.
He is. Yeah, I think he is.
I think they might need his legs in this because Michigan's receivers are not they're not special. Like, they don't suck, but they're not great. And I think you do need McCarthy and his ability to move around some here. I don't know. Like, we can say Michigan has not had to show anything the last 2 weeks, and that's factual. Like, they've been able to just play defense and run the ball. But, I mean, we're at week 13, and we have some uncertainty, I think is the right word, about this Michigan passing game. We don't know if it's there, if they need it.
The other thing, too, with McCord, he has not been good, under pressure. And when I say like blitz pressure, and, does Michigan home crowd, tough to hear the snap? Do they try to get after him? Now you put your secondary in a bind, especially if you're going to have to man-to-man somebody with Marvin Harrison Jr. But then you play that game, that race. Can we get to him before he can get the ball off and, impact his ability to get it there? Because if they don't, I think they will. I think they will try to pressure him. I think Jesse Minter will try to dial up some pressures and get home. Because to me, like we were just talking, that one of the biggest, like, you've got the neutralizer, you got the equalizer with Marvin Harrison Jr. But if you cannot get it to him, that to me is the best defense for it. And McCord, we haven't seen him run around that much either. Like, we're talking about McCarthy needing to use his legs. I don't know if McCord has that dimension. So I would expect some pressure from Michigan.
Michigan's run defense is excellent. I do think but to go back to your earlier thing, when I answered both, I think the upgrade of Ohio State's offense has to do with Trevion Henderson 100% healthy, running well, and Ryan, and probably a little bit of also Ryan Day working with Kyle McCord, working with the offense and trying to figure out, okay, I am Ryan Day. I probably have a Jimbo Fisher size notebook of different things that I would want to do with all these different weapons that I have. And we have to pare this way down. So Ryan Day is a play caller, is a game planner, being able to get sort of into his comfort zone. Again, I recognize that we are talking about, the way that they have played against Wisconsin, Rutgers, Michigan State, Minnesota. It is not, anything close to the level of defense like a Penn State or a Notre Dame. But I do think that it is the reason why you would upgrade it, is because Henderson seems fresh. Henderson seems like he's running hard, and it does seem like they understand what they want to do to complement a defense that I do think is still probably 1 to 11, the more consistent side of the football than what Ohio State has offensively. I've been upgrading Ohio State because I feel like they've answered some questions even against lesser competition. And then, like you mentioned with McCarthy, he's hobbling around out there, man. And it's gutsy, it's gritty, but that you have to acknowledge that there is not going to be the best you could possibly get out of McCarthy in that situation.
I mean, look, I know it seems like a very insignificant thing to you guys, I'm sure, and you're probably going to laugh when I say this, but as somebody who was incredibly superstitious, like I used to wear the same undershirt, I'd have the same pregame meal, I'd pray with our chaplain the same way every time, and with JJ, he had that little pregame routine with Harbaugh, the slap on the shoulders, then he hits him on the back. Just telling you, little thing.
To your point about bringing pressure, I think you guys nailed it. I mean, Ohio State got pressure against Penn State, and McCord had guys open and missed them, especially down there in the red zone. Like they heated them up, and he missed. Like they were just non-competitive throws. So if you're Michigan, I guess you try to do that, but you also really want to limit the explosive plays from Ohio State. I think you want to see if Ohio State can be consistent and drive the football. So you're probably hoping to get that pressure with the front four and not expose that secondary for a lot of those one-on-ones. This also could be the game they miss Harbaugh in, right? Because is there a little pucker factor with Sharon Moore, right? You're playing the blackjack card correctly, you're playing the analytics, but then you get to that situation and you've split 3 times, and you read the card, and it's like, all right, this is the time to press our edge. We need to double down on all 3 of these hands. You got the guts to do it? Because if you're the big guy, you coach in the damn Super Bowl, you don't care. You do care, but you're not feeling the pressure of
sure.
Oh man, I'm going to get blamed for this loss. Screw that. If you're Sharon Moore, this is where having an assistant be the head coach could actually hurt you, because you got to make these critical late game close decisions. And I mean, you could pull an Andy Reid like last night and just make a decision that really, it cuts 3 or 4% off your win probability. That hurts.
Could you imagine if he just looks at his watch and it's an Apple Watch during one of those? I mean,
Sharon Moore,
yeah. I mean, Harbaugh is going to be watching this thing. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? And I wouldn't put how do you trust him? Be there's not going to have any input. What if there's an assistant there? Now they're not allowed to have cell phones anywhere, right? Because I remember Kirk Signetti, I think he pulled out. Remember the guy had the replay and was like, "Look on the cell phone during a game," and he actually had to apologize. You're not allowed to look at cell phones.
Yeah, you're not allowed to use electronic tablets or cell phones on the sideline. That may change. We'll see.
Yeah, but you could also have your Apple Watch.
Hey, I was going to say the Big Ten rule just says he can't be at the venue on game day.
Right. I mean, right. Exactly. Yeah. What if he is having say so?
Hey, Boston Red Sox with the Apple Watches, right?
Right. That's what made me think about it.
So if you're
they didn't win, so we don't remember him like the Astros.
So if you are an assistant coach in the coach's booth, you're not your honor code not supposed to look at a phone.
I think in the coach's booth, they're probably not giving a crap. Do you?
Well, that's how it is. You have an analyst in the booth who is just a live chat with Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Harbaugh texts.
Don't you think he's probably having some input though? I mean, I would be shocked if he's not. If he's truly not paying attention, if he's not doing anything. I would imagine and the Michigan fans probably hate us right now, but I would honestly be shocked if he was not having any input to anybody on the staff during the game. Because I don't even know. The suspension says he's not allowed to be there. Does it say in the suspension he's not allowed to communicate?
It has been 2 weeks since I read the official ruling,
same.
But the big detail that I saw was not allowed at the venue on game day. So I mean, with all of the resources that Michigan has poured into its football staffing and its scouting department, I would imagine that, there's an analyst that Jim Harbaugh can text and they can relay it to somebody who's got a headset and messages can be delivered.
Texting would take too long. You need a guy with an earpiece because like the TV copy is behind. You need somebody like talking out. Okay, Jim, 3rd and 8, pass for 7, fourth and 1. Let's call it, right? You can't afford to have the 4 or 5 second TV delay.
It also could be a quick, like it could be every quarter, like hey, what are we doing well? What do we need to, like, just an extra set of eyes? Like, hey, we need to work that outside zone. We need to work the counter. Like, I saw this, I saw that.
A halftime check-in. Actually, realistically, like a halftime check-in makes the most sense.
Yeah, agreed.
Like trying to establish a line of communication for a fourth down call. It seems like that's creating too many wrinkles for, if Sharon Moore is going to be the next Michigan head football coach, he needs to be able to do this. So very interesting test for him.
What if Harbaugh like pre-recorded a couple different reactions and they just played the one like that fits the halftime situation? Like if he records it on a Friday, technically he's not coaching them on Saturday. They're just like delaying the message.
Well, he'll probably be with the team at the team hotel before they go to the stadium. He'll deliver a message. He'll get to talk to him on game day.
Can he wait? Are the Michigan football offices, trying to think, they're not built into the stadium. So he's probably in the facility, just not
right
in the stadium.
In the stadium.
What about the coach on the other side of the ball? Oh, on the other sideline. What if?
Oh, I got a prediction, by the way.
Yeah.
If Ryan Day, did you see the quote? He was on like with a local TV, probably his weekly interview, and they were like, he was asked like, what do you think? He's like, well, now's not the time to talk about this. What's transpired? What are your, the last 3 weeks? And he's like, well, now's not the time. There will be a time and a place to address all that's unfolded. I mean, what better place than after a win in the Big House? Like if Ryan Day goes into the Big House and wins this game, and after all the born on third base stuff that Harbaugh has thrown his way, you don't think he's going to take that opportunity to say, like WWE style, you're going to curse because everybody curses on TV now. There's going to be some F-bombs. Like, finally, you guys see what we've been trying to overcome, and now we have a level playing field. Now that everything's the same, we're able to win. Like, I guarantee you he's going to say something along those lines if they win. Like, that's when it comes out. I told we've been trying to do all this. They've been cheating. We showed you what happened when things are fair. Guaranteed.
All right.
So you're saying that Lou Holtz will have gotten off easy.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's got something dialed up, ready to go along those lines on national television as soon as it's done. And just in case you thought there was a chance Michigan was going to backdoor their way in with a close loss, he's going to kind of shut the door on that one too.
It's just sometimes when you're leading a program doing it the right way, it could be really tough when there's other ones out there not doing it the right way.
If you didn't see the signs that we were building something on defense and we're a tough program, the signs were there, guys. You just got to see them.
Yeah. No, like I might build a
How many times do you work towards signs or signals into that response? Like at least.
It's coming.
Even if you don't object, like even if you don't just outright say, like, "Hey, screw you on an even playing field. We got you now." I think you try to work the word signs, signals.
You don't give light to Born on third base, but you definitely try to get your shot in on the way back.
Yeah, we hit a home run today.
Yeah. Oh
yes.
Man, that's so good. Yeah, but maybe on the drive back to Raleigh on Friday morning, I'll put together a bingo board. We can see how many we can hit for Ryan Day if Ohio State wins. What if Ohio State loses, y'all?
Did you see the fake Urban Meyer going around?
No.
Some guy put out a video, and Urban Meyer was sitting on Big Ten Network and like dissecting a play. But then the way it was presented, it quoted Urban Meyer as saying, Ryan Day has no more excuses. If he loses this one, he's got to go. Something along those lines. And like it appeared like you were quoting Urban Meyer directly from this on-camera interview. And yet, if you listen to the interview and watched it, it was like breaking down a play. It had nothing to do with it. So Urban actually from his official account said, like, I did not say this. No way or fashion or form did I say anything like this. But I don't think it's that crazy. Like, if he does lose this game, and my goodness, like if it's close, maybe you get like more of a pass. But if you lose by 10 and you get run on again, boy, the cries are going to be as ludicrous as they may be. It's the only team he's lost to in the Big Ten. If he does, we just know how it's going to go.
The thing is, last year's game, there is a read of last year's game, which almost looks fluky, where you just see all these explosive plays and you're like, look, on these 6 plays, it was basically all of Michigan's offensive yards. Well, then my criticism, if you're going to use that approach, is, well, then the team was unprepared. That either a coaching standpoint from game plan or a coaching standpoint in terms of getting your guys ready to go, you were unprepared if you are giving up this many explosive plays against a team with equal talent. And so if it looks like that again, then it's going to get a little bit out of hand. What do you think, Bud? What are you smiling about?
No, I just think you're right. But like, I think Day's a good coach, man. I think he knows
I think he's a
what
great
doing.
coach.
Like, I think he's a good play caller. Like, I don't know. Like, if there's a job that you can argue like you really can't screw up, it's sort of Ohio State. Like, you got to be pretty bad. Like, they're never bad. Sometimes they're not great, but like they're never bad. I think Day does a really good job. So
I don't
know.
and I want to make it clear. Like, I'm saying the reaction from Ohio State fans is going to be what we just discussed. I'm not saying he should be on the hot seat. I don't think he should be fired. I'm just saying there will be a faction of Ohio State fans who are like, oh, this isn't the guy. And, you know, he had urban players when he had his best years, and the further removed are, I mean, you just know the narrative, how it's going to go.
Man, I agree, but it's also like, man, they were a kick away from playing for the national championship last year.
Yeah.
They just had to send out a Carolina kicker. You know, if they didn't send out a former UNC kicker, then, you know, maybe it would have been different. You know, that's what you're left with.